Hello, and this is a very special video regarding Neptune going into Aries. And this is happening on March the 30th, 2025. So it may be a bit premature for me to do this video, but better be prepared. So this video is going to look at the influence of Neptune, what Neptune rules, and go through all 12 of the zodiac signs to find out how it is going to affect you. Because Neptune takes around about 165 years to go around the whole of zodiac, and so it spends around 14 years in each zodiac sign. Now, on March the 30th, 2025, Neptune goes into Aries for the first time in 165 years. But more importantly, it does go back into Pisces on the 22nd of October 2025. And then in 2026, it will finally settle into Aries. But during that little window of 5 months, we get a little flavor of what to expect, like we've just experienced with Pluto going from Capricorn into Aquarius. Now, Neptune is a subtle planet, and it rules things that are non-tangible, things that we cannot see, so the unseen, or vapors, all forms of escapism, all forms of the romantic as well. So we associate it with the god Poseidon, ruler of the sea, the ocean, things that are underneath what we cannot see. But also, it rules the supernatural, the paranormal, ghosts, the non-tangible. All forms of escapism would be drugs, drink, spirituality in all its forms. In 1848, last time that Neptune was in Pisces, the spiritualist movement started in Hinesville in New York and spread all over the Northern Hemisphere to Europe. Now, we've just experienced since 2011 Neptune being in Pisces, and that has essentially made things non-boundary. There's a lot of confusion out there due to the combination of Neptune in Pisces. Pisces doesn't like boundaries, and nor does Neptune. And Neptune is a collective planet. Therefore, we see certain themes or patterns or certain zeitgeists emerging when it goes through a particular zodiac sign. And this is kind of really important to understanding what to expect and what's coming up. So if we look at the Neptune in Pisces that we've had for the last 14 years, all forms of like social media, in respect to identity, comes under the vibration of Neptune in Pisces. And this has led to confusion. It has led to the boundaries being pushed. It has led to us living in a much more virtual world, as well as the world of the tangible. So we're living between two worlds. Now, Pisces is obviously the two fish swimming in opposite directions. It's a dualistic sign. So whenever you get any planet that's transiting a dualistic sign, then you get these combinations of two worlds. And that's kind of really important to understanding the energy of Neptune and how it manifests and what to expect. Neptune, if you've had a very difficult Neptune transit, it's not all the time that you feel it. It's subtle. It sort of works behind the scenes, and then suddenly you're hit by this energy. A lot of Neptune transits and Neptune in general is linked to high degrees of creativity, particularly music, film, but also spirituality, a spiritual crisis or a spiritual awakening. Venus wants to love one person, Neptune wants to love loads of people. It's that energy of unconditional love. It's that merging from one thing to another, merging with a god, a goddess. Transcending beyond the ordinary is very Neptunian in its energy. So it's a higher octave to Venus. Venus, we are trying to unite or relate to something, whether it be a person, an artistic piece of music, or an art in general. With Neptune, we're going beyond that, and it has that high vibration to it. But we can also lose ourselves in Neptune's energy. It doesn't want boundaries, as I said earlier. It completely is just, why should I have bound? It's like the boundless ocean. It just keeps on going, should not be structured at all. And that could be good in some places and some not so good. So it's understanding that particular energy. And whenever it goes through a sign of the zodiac, it wants to not have structure in it. It wants to dissolve that particular zodiac sign, break it down before rebuilding it up again. It deals with the fantasy, the romantic, the high ideals, the high visions for the future. It is utopian in its energy. And it brings about change in the way that we see ourselves, our relationship with something that's greater than us. It's that stepping between two worlds that's so kind of important. So the idea of faith becomes really crucial in understanding Neptune's role. Having faith in something that is unknowable or you do not know, going into the unknown. All of these things come up a lot under Neptune's energy. And, you know, as an astrologer, I'd probably say as a much more traditional astrology, I don't say that, you know, Neptune rules Pisces. You know, to me, Jupiter rules Pisces. I'm not saying that's the only way it should be. It's just the way that I like to work. So to me, Neptune in Pisces has been chaotic. You know, it's been unbounded. It's not been able to sort of settle at all. We live in a society which is very much about post-truth, and that's so Neptune in Pisces. Who's telling the truth? My truth, your truth. No one kind of knows. And that's the symbolism of that is very, very strongly, I feel, related to Neptune in Pisces. And we come to this stage where Neptune is on the 30th of March 2025 going into Aries. And if we look at Aries, it is the first sign of the zodiac wheel. It is the beginning of spring in the northern hemisphere. And Aries is a cardinal sign. It's fire. And, you know, it's a zodiac sign that wants to move forward. Aries does not like to look back at all if it can help it. So it wants to move forward in life and go forth and conquer. Now, if we look at Neptune, well, that's very watery. As it used the word, it dissolves. It breaks down. It's subtle. It wants to step between two worlds. People who have Neptune in their charts are the actors, the spiritual gurus, the poets, the drunks on the negative, the waifs and strays in life. There's something enigmatic. There's something that's untouchable. There's something unknowable with someone who's got a high degree of Neptune. And I think that's one of the sort of the things about the combination of Neptune in Aries. So a modern astrologer would say that Neptune in Pisces, because it's in its rulership, you know, is very, very comfortable. And I agree with that statement to some extent, because it is. You know, both zodiac side of Pisces is water in its element, and of course, you know, so is Neptune. But that means that it's got no structure to it. So Neptune going to Aries is going to change the collective, the zeitgeist. And how is that going to manifest? How's that going to bring about this change? What can we expect? Well, I think the first thing that we expect is that all forms of kind of spirituality and awakenings come under the rulership of Neptune, whether they're real or not. And therefore in Aries, the zodiac sign of the individual, the conqueror, there is a combination there that is in conflict. when I said like Neptune wants to love everybody, Aries is quite content on their own as an archetypal zodiac sign. And therefore, the two find it very, very difficult. One wants to merge, one doesn't. One wants to separate and go on its own. So, from a society's collective point of view, what does that mean? It means that the idea of the individual becomes stronger, but the individual has its own truth, its own path. So, spirituality that has a collective aspect to it, which a lot of spiritualities and a lot of religions as well do, and that's the idea of community, under Neptune in Aries will start to be broken down. So we become much more individualistic in our approach to religion or spirituality. This is my truth. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a bit of this and I'm going to take a bit of that, and that's what I'm going to follow. It is less of a collective or bringing community together. It's much more about the individual. And that's really kind of important, because where you get Neptune, you get the essence of trying to merge with something that's greater than yourself. In Aries, it's about the individual and the individual journey and being brave and being courageous. And so the two actually have conflict, but you can also find your own path that suits you without the interference or the dogma of other religions, spiritual practices. This is taking a bit from every bit of practice that you want and incorporating it into your own. This is the ability to feel confident in your own self-belief. And that's the two words that I really want to bring in with Neptune in Aries, is self-belief. This is where it really comes into its own. Neptune has a connection with something that's higher. Aries wants to believe and has a lot of self-belief. The two are very integrated here. So expect new forms of spirituality, new forms of creativity that are much more on the individualistic aspect and that come from completely different spheres than what we've experienced before, particularly creatively. This is bold creativity. This is striking out on your own and creating new sounds and new ways of interpreting artistic mediums. This is about the individual higher consciousness, less about the collective. What does that bring in? It brings in a certain amount of personal responsibility. You're actually putting boundaries on yourself. You're not at the mercy of what the collective is doing, what the new zeitgeist is. You're in that ability to put those boundaries on yourself and be responsible. Now, Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars, it rules stuff like volcanic weather patterns, known as the god of war. So you would expect things to be fought on sea much more. You would expect that there'd be more turbulence within weather patterns, more volcanoes, more tornadoes, tsunamis, these kind of things that you would expect over the next 14 years to begin to happen much more regularly. The idea of crossing oceans to get to somewhere else will also, that will be things that will put structure on that. That will come in from a legal perspective. So people leaving countries to go to another, there'll be much tougher borders. There'll be an ability to see the individual much more and an individual society. Now, a lot of people would say, well, we're already kind of in that. And I think you're absolutely right. But I think this is much more to the forefront, much more of the control aspect that's going on. You see, Aries, ruled by Mars, is about how we assert ourselves in life, how we move forward. So this is about the experimentation. This is about conquering things that we have not even looked at. This is about going beyond the ordinary. I'm talking about space travel. I'm talking about landing on planets. This takes it to a whole new level during this particular period, because Aries wants to discover new things, new places to go to, new cultures. So within that, Neptune gives the insight, the creativity, and the vision to be able to do that. And so from a technological point of view, this is huge aspects that suddenly expand. Also, in marine life with oceans, discovering more about the darkest depths of what really goes on in the oceans, right down to the bottom of the ocean. Discovering new species, discovering new life. This is an adventurous combination that doesn't want to be satisfied with just the norm. But what's really interesting is that Neptune in Pisces is about escapism from life itself and creating that virtual world. Not in Aries. Aries wants to experience things. Aries wants to go forth and conquer and experience everything that it can. And it wants to experience new things. It does not want to separate itself from itself. It wants to be right at the center of everything. And that means that we are less in the virtual world than we have been. We want to experience the real world much more, the body and how we respond to that. We want to experience nature in all its glory, its positive and negative as well. We want to get things started. We want to build things. We want to experience life on the physical side. And so it's a real step up from what we've experienced with Neptune in Pisces. Real kind of step up, hugely important. Now, if you're listening to this, you want to know, well, how's this going to affect my sun sign? So I'm going to go through the 12 sun signs, also your rising sign. So if you know your rising sign as well, listen to that. So this is in relation to your sun sign and your rising sign. So both. But just take a moment, because I'm very excited about this Neptune in Aries. Yes, it's going to be volatile. It will be. Yes, things will move much quicker and things will dissolve much quicker as well. So it will be like rain one moment, metaphorically speaking, and then sunny the next moment. It will be like that from an economic, political point of view as well. But it will be much more direct, much more purposeful. We might not agree with what's coming up, but boy, is it going to be different from what we've had, less nebulous than what we've had. Okay, so let's look at the 12 zodiac signs, your sun sign and your rising sign. So let's look at Aries as a sun sign and rising sign. So Aries are going to feel the full force of this Neptune, and this is going to affect them, as in how you feel about yourself, your energy levels, your purpose in life, and how you go about getting things done. And as I said, Neptune diffuses and dissolves and breaks down things. So Aries likes to move forward in life. The more emotional, sympathetic, and empathetic energies of your personality begin to come up to the surface. There is a willingness to engage with others much more, a willingness to partake in the much more charitable aspects of your personality, wanting to help, but help people move forward in their own life, and to be really kind of aware that your sensitivity is going to go up to another level. So your sensitivity to the people that you're around, the environment that you're around, are just going up to a completely different level. And this is going to be a really important time. And you've got to get used to this Neptune energy, Arians, because it's going to be with you for 14 years. So, you know, it's something you're going to have to get used to, that sensitivity, that sort of almost psychic perception, that knowing, but also that wanting to merge with something that's bigger than yourself as well. So a spirituality, a creativity, something that you can merge into and lose yourself within that as well. That's going to be important, but it's difficult for Aries because Aries likes to be itself, and it likes to move through life with a certainty and an excitement. And it really works well with the whole idea of friction in life, that, you know, they've got something to overcome. That's important, a goal to conquer. Your energy levels might feel slightly depleted. You might have to look after yourself much more. You might have to do much more meditation practice. You might have to look at your diet and change that because of the sensitivity. You will have to drink much more water. Sounds simple, but it's a Neptune transit. And it's hidden your first house, which is the house of you. So it's the house that you enter into and engage with life. And you've got this Neptune transit in that house, which colors the whole idea of how you respond and how you integrate in society and in life in general. It's like a layer has suddenly come away from you, and you can no longer hide your emotions as much as you used to. And you find that you're getting these thoughts and feelings of other people's stuff. And so you might want to bring that into your work. You might want to help those less fortunate than yourself. You might have a need to break free from some of the restrictions that you felt that are around you. Remember, Neptune is about escapism as well, and some of that can be positive. Some of it can be about coming away from situations where you felt too responsible or taken too much on. So Aries is really going to feel this kind of energy of Neptune, and it's going to take a little time to get used to it because it will feel emotionally a bit volcanic, a bit unpredictable, because suddenly you'll be feeling a lot more, and you won't be able to kind of just get through it by just moving forward in life. You might become a little bit more indecisive, dare I say it, than you have been in the past. You might need to take steps back to procrastinate. And you may feel, well, why can't I make a decision? And the reason is because it has to feel right. And when you understand that, that's when life begins to really work for you. Your intuition is increased. Use it wisely. Don't come away from it. Don't just make decisions because you think, I've just got to make decisions. You know, Aries is the most impulsive sign of the zodiac. It doesn't like to stand still. But what you're going to have to do during this period is you're going to have to learn to be patient. You're going to have to learn to look after your feelings and to be receptive to them. Because if you don't, then you're just going to create these storm after storm in your life. And your work might change. Your ideals might change. You might want to work in areas that have a much more Neptunian energy to them, a softer energy to them, that really speak to the heart. But also, it's about you being courageous. It's about you being bold. Those personality traits are really important for Aries. So it's a fantastic kind of time for you. But at first, it's going to feel a little bit wobbly and nebulous and a bit all over the place. But when you harness that and you learn to discipline your intuition and your perception, then you can get a lot out of this combination. Okay, this is for Taurus, sun sign and rising sign. So Neptune is going to be hitting your 12th house, which is the house of the unconscious. They call it the house of the self-undoing, the house of the unseen, the house of sleep, the house of enemies that you do not know, secret enemies. Now, Neptune in modern astrology is actually in its rulership in the 12th house. And the 12th house definitely rules the aspect of two worlds, whatever that may be, whether it be through a spiritual practice, or whether it be through creativity, or whether it be just the power of visualization or the power of meditation. And Neptune is the most subtle in this house. It's not going to be something that you're going to feel every day. Oh, there I feel Neptune. It's subtle. You have to search for it a little bit. You have to be in a spiritual practice or engaged in a creative pursuit that sort of transcends beyond the ordinary in order to feel that Neptune energy. And if you don't, then you're not going to feel it as much. And all that will happen is that it will come up to the conscious, from the unconscious, subconscious to the conscious in a kind of messy way. This is a really good time to actually check your dreams and be aware. Dream journals, really, really good on Neptune. Again, Neptune's going to be in your 12th house for 14 years. It's the house that we can understand our inner motivations a lot more. And not from a logical point of view, but also from an emotional point of view. And we can have a relationship with another world that can help us to understand what's going on in this world. So, in a sense, you know, a lot of Taurians are going to be, this is a big year, 2025, because Uranus moves out of their own sign, and then they've got Neptune moving into the 12th house. So things sort of begin to calm down. But what's happening here is the Taurians are going to have to check in with their spirituality, and they're going to have to learn how to get in touch with that side of things. And they're going to have to use hunches in life and the intuition much more in the practical world. And this is the thing, it's a bridge between the spiritual and the practical. And this is a huge advancement for Taurians, because Taurians are the earth sign, the fixed, and they like the tangible, and Neptune is the non-tangible. So in sense, after the Uranus, the craziness of the last 7 years of Uranus, Taurians might be thinking, well, okay, right, I can just get on with stuff and just get on with the normal stuff that I should be doing, and things running smoothly. But Neptune is going to bring in a certain dimension that's going to mean that the spirituality is going to start to manifest in you from the unconscious to the subconscious, and hopefully to the conscious awareness that it's okay to be in the two worlds. And it must do it with bold convictions. Because Taurians, what's interesting is that the 12th house is Aries, and Mars is the ruler of that 12th house. And if they don't listen to the subconscious, then it becomes volcanic. And so here's the thing. You have the ability to have a deeper relationship with your own spirituality as Neptune transits your 12th house. You have the ability to see things from a completely different angle and experience a depth and wisdom that you've never experienced before. But you've got to be bold with that. And you've got to have that self-belief that you are connecting with something, and not that, oh, well, I don't really know if this is true or not, or you got to feel it. And so it comes under the idea of trusting in the process that there's something higher, something bigger than you and what's in front of you, something that's deeper and more connected to something else completely. And when you build that relationship under Neptune's energy, then you can really kind of feel alive. On the other side of things, if you don't, then the subconscious and the unconscious becomes very, very messy, and life becomes a little bit more complicated, and you use different forms of escapism to come away from the harsh realities of life, and they're usually not very, very positive. So which is it that you're going to do? Okay, Gemini, sun sign and rising sign. Okay, this is hitting your 11th house, 11th solar house. this Neptune in Aries, and that house is a lot to do with friendships and the collective. It's another house of what I call another people house. How we connect with people and the friends that we make, how we connect with collective, that means groups and societies and anything to do with that. And Neptune diffuses and dissolves. Now, generally, Gemini is quite a naturally social sign. It's interested in people, observes people. And the 11th house of Neptune is, looking for a cause that's greater than you. So you might suddenly become much more interested in politics or the environment or magical or spiritual groups. Just to feel a sort of pull to want to engage with like-minded people that have the same ethos, that have the same thoughts and feelings that you have about life and where you would want it to go. And this is really kind of significant because this is going to be a 14-year cycle of friendships and connecting with people on a different plane to what you've connected with them before, on a much more emotional, spiritual plane, if you like, that's beyond the ordinary. But of course, what also Neptune does is it brings in a lot of confusion as well, where boundaries are broken and friendships begin to turn into they're not defined. So you don't know where you stand with other people. You don't know where you stand with groups. You're unsure about your role. You're unsure about the communication aspect. Again, this is if you find the Neptunian energy, you've got nowhere to channel it into. Neptune, as I said, is about dissolving the boundaries of what needs to happen. And when you don't listen to that, and you don't dissolve, you don't merge into a group, you don't look at the higher cause, and you come in from a very egotistical level, then that's where the confusion really kind of comes in. Gemini is an air sign. It's a mutable sign. Its ability to adapt is there, and it's an air sign, so it communicates. And Neptune's dissolving the fact that how you connect with people on friendships, how you connect with people in groups, it's not about what you can say and what you can do. It's about merging into that group, merging into a utopian, idealistic vision and helping in a charitable and unconditional way that's going to bring you the most rewards with this Neptune transit. And if you come from an egotistical point of view and try to impose your views too much, then it's going to get messy. Then you're going to pick up this kind of energy that is kind of complicated and confusing, and you'll go, what's the motivations? And then you won't even know what your motivation is. So there's always a positive and negative about these combinations. Geminis can get a lot out of this Neptune Aries. It could be very exciting. It can make you really connect with people on a deeper level, to such an extent that you feel like you feel in their pain and they're feeling yours. You can achieve a lot in society because these ideas that you have are part of the collective. So if you're even, and this is what happens when these planets begin to change signs, even before they've entered into that sign, you get little kind of murmurs, I call it, where Geminis might be thinking at the moment, I want to get involved in something a lot bigger than me. I feel very passionate about this subject matter. It's like the soul is preparing for that ingress of Neptune going into your 11th house. So you can really begin to kind of feel it. And that's going to be really kind of special, because you're going to get an awful lot out of this combination. But you need to remain quite grounded with it as well. Okay, let's have a look at Cancer Sun signs or Cancer Rising. Now, you lot are going to be deeply affected by this transit of Neptune in Aries, because it's going to be transiting in your solar 10th house, which is the career aspect of your life. and it's how you engage within the public, and it's how you engage with authority figures. It's the house of the mother. And Neptune is very, very subtle in its energy, but still it packs a bit of a punch when it hits you. So themes to do with career, your social standing, and what you want to do for the greater good is going to be very much the Cancerian energy coming in for its 14-year cycle. And that might include working for causes that are humanitarian, charitable, spiritual, or creative, wanting to create some good in this world, not wanting to have a career that just makes money, not wanting to work so much in the corporate sector, wanting to imprint your sense of empathy and understanding and emotions onto the world. That sounds very, very grand, but it is. It's like that. Remember, Neptune is a collective planet. So the way that we work in life is beginning to change. And for Cancerians, I feel like this is going to be a period where the emotions, and Cancerians are they're ruled by the moon. They have very, very deep emotions. They feel a lot. And so you're working on that moon basis, and you're also working on the Neptune basis, which are two feeling planets that work on the emotional energy. So these become really, really kind of important. It means that you're connecting much more from the emotional point of view within your career. It also means that you can't take a step back. You have to care passionately about what you're doing and how you're doing it and whether it feels right to you. If you're in a career at the moment where you're feeling stuck, or you're feeling that it's not being creative and not clicking into that emotional, then the immediate thing is you want to escape. You want to just go away from it. And that's going to increase under Neptune's transit of your 10th house. Would I agree with doing that? No, I'd probably say try and find a better way instead of just the escapism. But there you go. That's what's going to happen. You'll want to go for something that's much more idealistic. And that means helping sections in society that are less fortunate than yourself. That means transcending beyond something that's bigger than you. So a bigger cause. Working for a bigger cause, being involved in a bigger cause, going to be really important. And when you do that, then you begin to feel complete. Then you begin to feel like, right, I've done something that's really exciting, and I'm really connecting with the universe and connecting with myself. The issue with the Neptune in the 10th house is not to lose your sense of self through that, not to think that you're like greater or that you're having this massive impact. You're having a small impact, but that's significant in itself. But if you get carried away with that, get it careful. The ego can play up a little bit on this one. Depends on the age of you, really. But I think for a lot of Cancerians, it's that kind of want to merge with a career, and I use the word career, not work, a career that is almost out of this world. And a vision of where you want to go in your career. Work is to get money to survive. Career is aspirational, something that we want to do, or are born to do, or we want to develop. So there's a difference. It doesn't mean you have to sort of quit your work. It means that you have to look at the long-term planning of your career, and it has to fit in with your personality, and that's going to be absolutely crucial for Cancerians. Okay, let's go to Leos, sun sign and rising sign for Leos. Well, I'd get some really good suitcases and travel bags, actually, Leos. That's what I do. Because Neptune's going to be going through your 9th house, which, is the house of long distance travel and higher education, particularly. And it also rules publishing, and it also rules higher knowledge. This is you packing your bags, going off to places, and find out about yourself and find out about different cultures. and find out and doing it through education and doing it through languages. This is going to be an exciting time of opportunity to expand your awareness of the sense of self, your relationship with the world, and beyond. Oh, sounds great, doesn't it? And in a way, it is. Leos are a fire sign; they're fixed, so they like their routines. They like to know where they are and what they're doing. But Neptune puts a real big adventure transiting through your solar ninth house. It puts an adventurous spirit into your nature, a sort of wanderlust, an ability to sort of think, yeah, I could just pack my bags and go somewhere abroad and that'll be okay. It wants to explore, it wants to expand, it wants to unite with some higher knowledge and some higher force that's going to give a real kind of sense of morals and ethics and the ability to transform and the ability to teach others of what they have just discovered themselves. You see what I mean? It's going to put a touch of idealism, a touch of utopian thinking. And this is not all a bad thing, but I'm going to have to put the slightly difficult thing of saying, well, this is all very well, but you have to remain grounded and your feet on the ground, and you can't always pack your bags and go because life is life. So you've got to plan a little more, but there is a real ability of self-discovery that's going to come in for you lot, and it's going to bring in a kind of a sense of a higher vibration in the way that you interpret life, the morals and ethics of life, and the ability to help others see things in a completely different way. Okay, Virgo sun sign and Virgo rising. So Neptune is going to be hitting your 8th house, your 8th solar house. And I like to call it the therapeutic house. It's where we delve into what motivates us, what's fearing us, where power lies, where doesn't it lie, how can we come away from that, how can we understand that. So a lot of people, a lot of planets in the 8th house tend to be good therapists, good ability to help others and to transform others. Now Neptune doesn't like boundaries, and it dissolves, and it's in the 8th house. And the 8th house is the deep-seated issues that we all have. Some of them are stronger than others at different times of our life, but we all have them. And our motivations and our fears and what really makes us tick. And when you've got Neptune in there, there is dissolving of those fears, there's a dissolving of those motivations. It breaks those down in order to build some new ones back up. And that can be the kind of the challenge, because Virgo as a sign likes to analyze and make lists and be strategic and understand why that works a certain way and why it doesn't work this way. So in a sense, you've got this whole kind of conflict going on of all these emotions deep-seated coming up. So the therapeutic would be a good way of explaining. However, it's also about the 8th house is other people's money, other people's investment in us, or in you, I should say. And that means that it's different people's energy and what they are putting onto us. What projections are they putting onto us? What are they putting into us in terms of their own fears, their own power, their own motivations? It's an intuitive understanding of that that's going to come up to the surface very slowly, but it's going to come up to the surface. And that's actually going to be very, very powerful. But initially, it might feel overwhelming. It might feel that you're feeling other people's stuff rather than just your own much more. And that you feel that what's happening in the collective is too overwhelming as well. So it's got to be understood. It's about facing one's fears. And if you look at Virgo, what's the big fear? Losing control. So Neptune doesn't want control. It wants to let go and embrace whatever it can. So there's a moment of merging into that at times, and that is on the emotional level. Virgos, it's a bit of a journey. It's a 14-year journey for you. So you're not going to get it right in the first couple of months that Neptune goes into your solar eighth house, but it's going to happen, and it's going to bring about a whole different change in relationship with yourself and your fears and your deep-rooted sense of where you come from and a self-understanding. Okay, Librans. This is for Libran sun signs and Libran rising sign. Okay, so this Neptune is hitting your seventh house, which I call the house of other people. That means partnerships, that means relationships, that means other people coming in with Neptunian values. So you're less actually hit by it initially on an individual level. It's other people coming into your life that are going to be very Neptunian. They're going to have this kind of poetic, slightly wishy-washy, unreliable, inspirational, non-boundary essence about them. And you're going to have to deal with that. And Librans like to do that in a diplomatic side. So you might find yourself getting involved in much more creative projects. You might get involved in a spiritual retreat center or a spiritual practice or a spiritual group that you have to meet these Neptunian types and embrace them into your life and try and understand them. And what they bring into you is a sense of going with the flow, of not taking life so seriously, but also they will create dramas, they will create an excitement, they will create a little bit of chaos from the emotional perspective that, and this is what Librans will love, they're going to have to patch up and get everyone to make up and put back together. Librans love doing that. So in that sense, you're in a very strong position. However, Neptune in the seventh house can be idealistic. I just went into a Neptune mode there about partners, putting them on a pedestal, or seeing them as like a savior, or attracted to ones who are a little bit nebulous and stuff like that. So they've got to watch that. They've got to not put partnerships, that means romantic or business partnerships, on pedestals, and not be too idealistic or utopian in the viewpoints of that. That's the dangers of Neptune in the seventh house. You know, relationships can be very romantic and promise a lot, but in the end, reality always comes down at some point. And with Neptune traveling in the seventh house, there's always a kind of a sense of confusion about what that other person thinks and feels about you and how to respond and react. Again, with Neptune, it's about using your intuition. You know, sometimes Neptune is really good on the intuition side and the hunches, and sometimes it's way off. It depends on the environment, what you've eaten that day, and stuff, silly stuff like that, actually, because it's so absorbent. So you've got to be quite your air element of Libra has to be coming into full capacity to take that step back, to be objective, to be slightly detached when things are slightly messy with other people. But it will make you look at life in a very, very different way. Okay, this is next for Scorpios, sun sign and rising sign. Okay, so this comes in with the energy of the sixth house, and the sixth house is your working environment, your health, your service to others, small pets, dogs, cats. If Scorpios are going to find that there is a certain adaptability that has to be in the working environment, or they will feel compelled to change that. So more fluidity in the working environment, hence more part-time, freelance, working from home, working in several places. They will not want to be working in one place. They will want a certain amount of freedom in that, and the boundaries to be broken in their working environment. It also means, because it generally comes under the rulership of work, that they might want two jobs, much more dualistic in their career and in their work, and being at service to others, working in a charitable sector or working in health sectors particularly may take on a strong symbolism in how they using this Neptune energy as transiting the solar sixth house. Health, they may become much more sensitive to the environment and to health matters, and therefore take an alternative approach to health matters, or have a spiritual practice on a daily level, such as yoga or tai chi or meditation, that they incorporate into their daily life. The sixth house is very much about mundane matters, what we have to do. It's cleaning the dishes. That's what it is. And yet there can be a spiritual experience in the mundane. And actually that's kind of true spirituality in its greatest form, seeing the beautiful, the special, and the significance in the mundane. That's essentially it. So Scorpios can get an awful lot out of this, and it could be a very profound time where being at service to others and helping others is going to give you such a huge boost to your sense of self, to your happiness, to your own spiritual journey. That's where you're really going to get a lot from Neptune. The flip side of that, of course, is that because Neptune doesn't like boundaries, is giving too much of yourself and being not in service, but in servitude, which we don't really want. So you've got to be careful of that. You may give too much under Neptune's transit. Okay, so this is next for Sagittarius sun signs and Sagittarius rising. Okay, Sagittarians, this is all happening in the fifth house. You're a party sign, and the fifth house is a party house, solar house. And Neptune's in there, so the party could go on for a long time. It's interesting because Aries, of course, is the zodiac sign of the individual. The fifth house is the sign of the individual, the creative expression. And you got Neptune likes no boundaries. This could be a very, very fun time, or it could be a very messy time, depending on how you respond to this energy. The idea of letting go comes into its full capacity under Neptune transiting your solar fifth house. And it's really kind of important that you do put restraint and boundaries on life in terms of the social aspect, in terms of what brings you joy, what connects you with others, the love life as well. This is great if you're artistic. I mean, if you're in the arts and you're in the creative industries, oh my God, this is going to be fantastic. The inspiration, the just eureka moments that you're going to experience, the connecting with people in the creative industries, it's just going to be fantastic. If you're in a much more conventional job and you don't have an outlet for that, then you may feel suddenly have an urge to be more creative, to connect with creative people, to be more dramatic in your approach to life, to express yourself in so many different ways that you've never done before, to be involved in water sports a lot and doing kind of more crazy kind of stuff. Neptune does do that. It breaks down the boundaries. It allows you to be someone else, actually, and to find out different facets of your own personality. And in the fifth house, it really does that to such a nice kind of degree. I call the fifth house like the house of the teenager, because it's where we find our tribe, and we find out about our individuality, and we're and love and dates and all that come under the sort of fifth house as well. So it's very much house of teenage. So it's like a kind of second sort of teenager that kind of comes along, for Sagittarius. Not that they'll be particularly put off by that, because they're sort of very youthful and Jupiter orientated, very idealistic, the Jupiter ruled sign and Neptune in the fifth house, and it can be a little bit sort of chaotic in the sense of like you're having too much of a good time. People might be going, look, you've got to slow down, you've got to do this and that. Not that you'll care. In terms of spiritual principles, the creative energy is where the spirituality and creativity come from the same source, and understanding that is going to give you so much wisdom and so much ability to kind of move forward in life. Fantastic. Okay, Capricorn, fourth house, fourth solar house. This is for Capricorn, sun sign and rising sign. Yeah, you've got a lot going on in that fourth house, particularly the first couple of years, from 2025 to about the middle of 2027, because also you got Saturn, you Capricorns, in your fourth house as well as Neptune. But let's concentrate on the Neptune factor. The fourth house is where we come from. It's where we belong or feel that we belong. It's where we hide from the world and recharge our batteries. It's the family, it's the property, it's the home that we live. It's where we live. It's to do with our instinctual reactions to stuff. It's where we feel vulnerable, where we can feel insecure, what makes us feel secure, what roots us, what grounds us. Neptune is not very grounding. It uproots. It doesn't want to root itself to one place. It becomes too idealistic. And therefore, there is a kind of a sense of wanting to move, is one example. Remember, Neptune's going to be in there for 14 years, wanting to move, wanting to escape, wanting to find other places to go or other things to see that will give us a sense of security, a sense of where we're going in life. It makes us feel less connected to where we come from on the ancestral lineage and wanted to find something new. It also means that the family or family members might have Neptunian things that happen to them, escapist tendencies, or indeed feeling kind of lost. It's also known, the fourth house, as the house of the father. It's to do with land as well. There may be nebulous things to do with properties or stuff to do with properties in the family or land in the family that seem to not have any clarity over them. If you do move in this time, really check the land that you'll buy, the property you're buying on. Look at the small print with this combination all the time. Use your intuition much more on this one, Capricorns, because it's going to be a very important. It's all there. It's just going to take you a while to access it. It's because you'll feel like you won't feel Neptune all the time. But it will be, when it comes along, it will kind of hit you quite a bit. And it's understanding that there's something that you're trying to connect with that's deeper. And this, when I go back to the ancestral lineage on this thing, it means that it's finding out much more about that. It's wanting to connect with that, but also connect with faraway places. And there might be an inkling to move somewhere that you've never thought of before, or you go on holiday and connect with some country that you've just never thought of before, and you feel that's my home. This is the sort of the energy that you could be working with Neptune. And sometimes that could be good and sometimes not so good, but I feel like it's understanding your roots and what grounds you and what doesn't, and this will give a very clear definition of what doesn't and what does as well. So it's really kind of understanding on a deeper level, and what stirs you, what moves you, and is there other ways that you can gain that recharge of your batteries? Is it through spiritual practice? Is it through connecting with other people? Is it just doing walks on your own and connecting with nature? This is the self-discovery that you'll experience with Neptune transiting your fourth house. Okay, Aquarius. Third solar house. This is for Aquarius, sun sign and rising. Third house is the communication house. Neptune's transiting for a 14-year period. And for you, Aquarians, it's how do you get your ideas across and being much more flexible. Now, Aquarians might like this or they might not, what I'm about to say. Aquarians are fixed signs, they're rare signs. They're not as wacky as they sometimes appear. They're actually got their own routines, and they've got very strong likes and dislikes. And they communicate usually with a kind of quite a direct energy. They like to play devil's advocate a lot of the time. And Neptune transiting that third house is going to change that dynamic quite a bit, because it's going to soften that natural Aryan ways of communicating in a softer way. So it's communicating through the emotional realm. It's communicating on the intuitive realm. It's communicating their ideas to unite and to merge ideas with other ideas. It's less independent. And Aquarians might get a little bit sort of touchy about this right now, but yes, merging with others. Yes, the ability to bring your individualistic ideas and merge it with other people's ideas, including groups and collect the collective. It's also, you know, the house of siblings. So you might have siblings around you that suddenly have a real big spiritual awakening. You might feel that your short distance traveling, that's travel within your own country, become odd experiences where you have these moments of kind of spiritual clarity, or just odd moments that you cannot explain. You might feel that the way that you communicate is changing, that even the way you write your emails is changing. You might look at alternative, different ways of communicating, maybe through virtual reality or other ways, or have some ideas of creating apps for the future that brings people together. This is all under the third house. This is busy, but it also, the third house is the mind, and the mind to become very, very too busy and very woolly and a bit fuzzy sometimes if it's not centered and it's allowed to sort of run away with itself. So you've got to be careful. There might be times when you feel a bit out of your body, that you feel that you're not clear in your communication and you have to, you know, take a step back and recharge your batteries. That's the normal energy. It's dissolving the way that you communicate. Your opinions are kind of dissolving to build yourself back up into a new way of communicating. And if it has the emotional side to it, then fantastic. It will work on that vibration really nice. If you stick to the communicating on the rational, then it's going to find a little bit of conflict, a little bit of challenge there. So just be aware of that, Aquarians. Okay, Pisces. This is for Pisces sun sign and Pisces rising. I think a lot of you Pisceans are going to be very, very happy when Neptune goes into Aries. I think you're going to be celebrating. I think that you're going to be going, well, thank us all that Neptune has come out of her own sign, because it's been in there since 2011. And you felt a little bit like, you know, a ship on an ocean, don't know where you're going most of the time. And so now it's switching. And it's switching into a position which is to do with the financial aspects and your self-value. The Neptune going into your second house is going to change the way that you earn your money. So Neptunian principles of advertising, creativity, spirituality, media, stuff like that are all going to come under the rulership of Neptune. So you might have begin a 14-year journey of getting money from multiple sources or multiple occupations, or definitely 2 occupations that will come in line here. Your view of money may be very laissez-faire. It may be that you earn a lot of money and then you don't. It's very up and down with Neptune. It also means that how you value yourself and how you feel about yourself will determine how much money you earn. It's that self-value thing about relationship money is going to come in because Neptune works on an intuitive level. Be careful. I mean, I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Careful of get-rich schemes or anything that seems too good to be true in terms of money. It's probably because it is too good to be true. Under Neptune, you can be idealistic about money or earning money. But you might find that you get yourself into situations where you earn money in unusual ways, or ways that you never thought you would, or they come from unusual sources. It also means that, you know, anything to do with illusion or fantasy or escapism, positive or negative, can come through of earning money through that. It also means that your self-value might not be to do with your material level, but your spiritual level, and therefore it sort of transcends beyond the ordinary of the financial aspect here. It also means that the possession side of things and what you earn that you own yourself, what you own is going to be changing as well. It also means that the the body, the sense of the body will have to be looked at. How you look after your body, and what you know, your dietary aspects, all of that might be looked at under this sort of 14-year cycle. But I think it's easier this than the last 14 years since 2011, because I think Neptune in Pisces just sort of brought this chaos, and this will actually, because Pisces naturally gravitates to the more creative, the more spiritual aspects of life, it kind of blends in very, very well with Neptune transiting your second solar house. And I think that's the whole point of it. You learn to self-value all the skills, all your intuitive basis, all of your adaptability that you have, all of your emotional empathy that you connect to other people is going to be the thing that's going to help you to make money and help you to bring out the best in those skills, and also have a very strong sense of self and self-belief. And self-belief is the two words that I'm really emphasizing with Neptune in Aries. So for Pisces, this is a really kind of good time to sort of, you know, almost, dare I say it, fulfill their dreams in the work basis of how they earn the money. Really kind of very, very strong, you know. And also a couple of months after Neptune goes to Aries, you know, Saturn goes out your second house and goes into your third house. So again, that releases that kind of energy of the Saturn that you've been dealing with for the last couple of years on your financial. So if you've got business ideas bubbling underneath the surface at the moment, or it's just starting to percolate, or just starting to come in, particularly if they're creative or spiritual, then it's a bit of a thumbs up for you. That really should actually really work very, very well for you. Okay, so there you have it. That is Neptune in Aries and how it's going to affect all the 12 zodiac signs. Like I said, it's on the 30th of March 2025. It ingresses and then goes back into Pisces on the 22nd of October 2025 before re-entering in 2026 and being finally, it will take that 14-year cycle. So this video, please be a subscriber. It really helps the channel, and like the video because that also helps. And I hope that's been useful, and I'll speak to you all very soon when I've got some more videos coming up, more exciting news coming up. So keep on watching, keep subscribing. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.